What is up guys, Karotaka here, and today I'm here with another Digimon deck profile. Today we'll be going over the Apocalymon deck from BT-15. So this is the deck that everybody's been dreading. It is really strong deck with few answers right now. I think as the meta goes on for this format, I think a lot of people will figure out more answers for this deck. But as of now, this deck is pretty oppressive and it is very fast. So without further ado, let's get right into the deck profile. So for the Tamas, we're running the Tsunamon from BT6. We're running this so just to get more draw power. Whenever you discard with an effect, this card lets you draw one. So very easy to do because this deck discards a lot. So next we are running the boss man himself, Apocalymon. This is a ticking time bomb. The effect is when this card is placed, you can choose up to 3 Dark Masters from your trash or battle area and put it underneath this card. For every card you put, you get the cost -4. So they have to be different names. So it's ideal that you get your Dark Masters in your trash as soon as possible. And this second effect is, at the end of your turn, you can put a level 6 card underneath this Digimon, and then you can activate its on-play ability. Afterwards, for every card in this card's source, you can trash 2 cards for your opponent's deck. So that's why it's a ticking time bomb. By the time you get this out, if you have 3 Dark Masters and then you can put 1 in, you are pretty much just milling 8 already. And then if it lives past your opponent's turn, you'll be milling 10. And if you can put another one out, it'll be 18. So they're decking out really fast. So it's really strong. Definitely your opponent has to find an answer for this as soon as possible. So running 4 of those. Next, for the other Dark Masters, we're just running 3 of each of the Dark Masters. You don't really have to worry about what they do, but we'll go over it anyway. So the Puppetmon's on place is you can bottom deck a rested unit. On play or on attack. Most of the time you will be using its on play ability if you already have these 3 and then you tap the other one. And then the Paimon is you can destroy a rested unit. The Mega Seedramon lets you bottom deck, lets you bounce a level 5 back to your opponent's hand. And the Machinedramon lets you de-digivolve 2. So they're all really strong effects on their own, but they're not the stars of the deck. The stars of the deck are some other really strong level 6s. So personally for me, this is where it's up to you guys, depending on how your opponents are finding answers for this deck. So these cards are mostly here to answer your opponent's answers. So a lot of people are playing Anubismon at my meta in my locals. So I'm running the Holy Dramon to counter that because they will be popping out a bunch of small monsters to attack with on the turn. So the best way to counter that is to give them all security check -1. So Holy Dramon lets you, the on play lets you give a blanket security check -1 to your opponent at the end of their turn. So it's really good. We're running 1 Craniamon, which on place is on the end of your opponent's turn, you are immune to Digimon's effects, or you cannot be. This card is not affected by opponent's Digimon's effects. So depending if your opponent's decks are running more removal from the Digimon side, you might run 2 more of these, or run 2 of these, and maybe one less one of these. We're actually running 1 Dukemon just for a answer. This is a situation at answer. So there are times when your opponent will have a Apocalymon out after you. Sorry, they'll have a Psychomon out after you have your Apocalymon, and you're going to use a Dukemon to pop that Psychomon, assuming they didn't get rid of your Pokemon. This is a kind of situational answer, but it's also used to remove big Digimon on the board. If they have something 13 or above, you can use it to pop that too. So it's not bad. It's also good as a surprise because your opponent's going to be milling a lot. And if you somehow can get this out for free, that's going to be pretty awesome as well. But this is a really flexible slot. You can run this for another Craniamon if you want. Or you can run another Metallic Dramon. So Metallic Dramon is another really good on-place ability card. On place, all your opponent's Digimon get the Digivolve 1. and then you can pop something that is 5 cost or less. If you didn't pop anything, then your opponent cannot Digivolve their active state Digimons until the end of their turn. So what that means is they have to attack with their Digimon before they can evolve, or they have to keep it in the raising area for another turn, which is really good for stalling, and that's why we're running Mechatectramon. Probably if I see less people running Psychomon, which I don't think that's going to be the case, I'll probably take this out for another Mechatectramon just because it's a really strong answer for the just a really strong card in general. But yeah, we'll see. Next, for the level 5s, we are running 2 of the Black Mega Gargomon. Now, this card is another answer for Psychomon. This one is a little bit less situational because even if you don't have a Pokemon on the board, you can Digivolve your Garurumon into a Black Metal Groundmon, and you can just pop their Psychomon. So this one lets you mill the top 3 cards of both you and your opponent's decks, and then for every you can pop something 3 or less, and then for every 10 cards in each player's trash combined, you can increase the cap by 2,000. So it's a really strong card to have in this deck, just because 1, you can speed up your opponent's mills, and 2, you can speed up your mills to get more level 6s in your trash potentially, and 3, you can use it to pop Psychomons. So really good. There's also a lot of other answers to Psychomon, but for now we're gonna go over these 2. Keep in mind, you also can't use the cost reduction for Dukemons on play if they have a Psychomon on the board. So there's times you might be slapping this down for 13 costs, but ideally you want to already have a Pokemon on the board already. But anyway, next for the level 4s, we are running 4 Garurumon X Antibody. This is the main turbo card of the engine. On Digivolution, you can draw 2 and then discard 2, and then if you have Garurumon and Source, get 1 memory back. So this is really good just because it helps you draw a lot of cards and helps you offload a lot of cards. So this is really important for the deck, and the deck kind of revolves around it. Next, we are running the Garurumon from ST16. This is also a pretty solid card. On Digivolution, you can draw 1 and discard 1. So you can filter out your deck with that as well. But the Inherit Source ability is also really good. It's also lets you draw 1 and discard 1. So if you have evolved into this one on your turn, and then Digivolve from this, you're trashing 3 cards already. And then if you tackle this Garurumon, you're trashing another one. So pretty strong. We're also running 2 of the Garurumon from ST6. Another solid card that helps you draw 1, discard 1. We're only running 2 of these because the deck is actually pretty tight in space. So we're not maxing out our level 4s. Ideally, you just want to have 1 line already, and then you can go for your Apocalymon already. So next, we are going to be running 4 Garbumon X Antibody. So this one lets you look at the top 4 and then grab 2 Garurumon cards, which is why you can run less of these, because you can push your sister out with the Gabumons, and then you can ditch a card from your hand, and then ideally you'll be ditching at level 6. And the Inherit skill lets you survive battle by putting 2 cards to the bottom, so you can recycle your Garurumons and whatnot. Next, we're running 4 Gabumon from ST16. This is another cycler. Lets you draw 1, discard 1, and at the start of your main phase, if your opponent has a Digimon on the board, you can get +1 memory. So, very solid. We are also running 2 Gabumon from ST6, so this also lets you draw 1, discard 1. Pretty self-explanatory there. And we're running 2 Psychomon for the mirror matches. Do not put this out before you get your Apocalymon, because you will screw yourself. Unless you're like bricking and you don't have a Pokemon in your hand while your opponent's already setting up, then you can slap this down. But most of the time, you won't want to have this on the board before you get your Wincon out. So 2 of these, be careful how you use these, but I think these are sort of important for mirror matches because there's a lot of Pokemon decks out in the wild right now. So having 2 of these in your deck will just help you out a little bit. Next, for the Tamers, we're running 4 Shonen Boy, or Analog Boy, Shonen Boy. Analog Boy, so this lets you look at the top 3 and then you can add one to your hand and trash out the 2. So this is here to help you search for your combo pieces and to help you search for Apocalymon most importantly. But if you happen to see some level 6s in those searches, then that's just a plus because you can just trash them for no additional cost. And last but not least, we're running one Pummel Whack. This is here to get rid of Psychemons. This is another answer. So if you don't want to run a Gallimon, you can run 2 of these. Or if you want to run something else, that's totally fine. But I feel like this one is pretty good just because you don't have to have anything on board prior to use this. So you can just slap it out of your hand and just delete their Psychemon, so you can potentially either go into your Apocalymon or do something else with that. Potentially play a Dukon or something, I don't know. Alright, so that is pretty much it for this deck. This is a pretty... I think this is a pretty standard Garurumon list because there are a lot of other lists that are running the just purple good stuff. It's that deck is a little bit more stable, but it's a little bit less explosive in terms of being able to offload a bunch of cards on the same turn. I like this card. I like this. I like the Guru line just because if you have the Garurumon line, you can potentially get your Pokemon out on turn 2. So it's pretty good. Yeah, obviously you have to have pretty decent draws, but it's not hard with all the draw power and all the discards that you can do with this deck. And you can get another one out on turn 4, your opponent's pretty much dead. Because they'll be milling 18 cards, so they milled 8 and then they milled 18. That's not all of cards left in their decks. And depending on what they're playing, if they're playing purple, that will also help you. They will also draw a lot, so that's a lot of cards that are out of their deck already. So, yeah, right now, that is the current build for this deck as of the early stages of BT-15. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. Do you think this deck is going to get nerfed? Are they going to rat it? Or are there some really smart ways to counterplay this deck already? But that's pretty much it for this deck, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed it. This is Card Haku, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!